It said over here that Torah said that in order to do tshuva, you have to bring a korban.
Bring the korban, yeah.
Bring a korban. And a korban, you have to be misvada, you have to express your regrets,
yeah,
what you transgress and so forth.
So that's an action, right?
What?
That's an action.
That's an action. But that is the Yichud Tshuva the way it is in Torah.
Okay.
But the pure element of tshuva is higher than that. Kuchabi Omer Yasa Tshuva V'Yischapenu. Torah also provides for tshuva. So what's the difference? The difference is that in Torah there is a yom korban. There are certain activities, and he has to specifically state what he's doing tshuva and so forth.
Oh, but so is that referred to tshuva ilah and tshuva kata?
Yes.
That's
well, we are assigned terminology another time, but it's a different level of tshuva. Okay. The Kuchabi Omer Yasa Tshuva is a different. It comes from a different source. Essentially, the difference can be described as follows. When a person has strayed and made a mistake, and he did an aveda, he is now in a state where he doesn't want to be. That state itself is demanding of him, is pressing him, he should do tshuva, he should change his ways. This is the process in Torah. He brings the korban and he's misvada, I did such and such, I regret it, I'll never do it again. Essentially. Then there is a different element of tshuva totally. It is not the pressing element of his current state. It is what he is looking for, not what he's rejecting, what he doesn't want. It is what he wants. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
This is different kind of truth. He identifies.
What he wants would be to be connected to.
You want, but it's not the I want. The point of the want is not that I should not be in Aveda, I should not be in impurity. I want the purity itself. I want God Himself. There, it's a completely different connection. It bypasses the whole process and goes straight to the point. In Torah it says, "V'yisvadas avoino." They should admit their sin. In Tshuva, it doesn't say anything like that. It says, "V'shavta ad Hashem," you return to God. So now we are learning we are about 8 lines from the top on page Lamed Gimel. The line begins with Koyach Levare Birurim. He said that in Torah itself, in addition to the fact that we said originally, that we have indication that Torah is rooted higher in Atzmos, because the mitzvah of tshuva is mentioned in Torah. How does Torah know about tshuva? It is because the root of Torah is in Atzmos. This is how Torah knows about tshuva. And then we're saying, so there, that Ayin is that Torah, so to speak, knows about you, and is telling us about it. But Torah itself does not in itself does not contain that quality. He can tell you about it because, so to speak, it was there and he saw it. Now we're saying there is even a greater indication, a greater relationship between tshuva and Torah, and therefore a greater manifestation of the atzmius element in Torah. And it is that Torah had pleaded with the Meibesh and said, you must provide for tshuva. You must provide erech hapayim, you must extend your anger, because this human being is not going to be able to survive. So we see that this is the Torah itself pleading for enabling tshuva, which means that Torah itself also will provides this relates to this element. Let us. These are all words that we can lose the point. If a person did a sin, just like we say in the case, if your finger is cut, it's cut. The finger will not heal on its own. There has to be some kind of a higher, unaffected element that brings healing to it. If the healing, healing will be done from the torn element itself, it will not be healing. It will be just stitched together. There's an interesting halacha. Halacha says simply, Chiburi Odom Eine Chibur. Chiburi Odom Eine Chibur. If a person, there's a potato. Just the potato is one entity. You cut up the potato. Now it's in different pieces. Then you smash it so finely so that it becomes one gush, one mesh. One mesh. So you say, oh, it's now one thing. It says no. Anything that has been joined together by human action is not really a real joint. The healing that's taking place in the finger is not that the finger it heals itself. That would be chibur yodam. But then any chibur is then it would be just a precarious type of joining. It's like you stitch it together. But what happens is that it's not a chibur. It restores back its original unity. This can only be coming from a higher source. So if teshuvah would be exclusively the way the Torah described it, this is called, in our terminology, like chibur yodam. Person did a sin, and he repented, he regrets it, he brought a korban, and he's forgiven. But it's not the original unity. It's not as if there was no infraction. The Rebbe explains that the korban oil, there's a chatas and oil and so forth. It's still stitched together. Humpty Dumpty.
Never be put back together again.
The tshuva, this is something which is not stitched together. It restores the original unity, completeness. That can only come from a source that does not provide for a breakup. Where is it coming to Torah? So we say like this: Torah itself is actually, as we said, is at the so to speak, a lower level, the tshuva that Torah provides. But then Torah pleaded with the Meibash and said, you must extend your anger to him.
Extend your forgiveness.
Extend erech hapayim. Extend, give him more leeway, so that he should be able to do tshuva. Give him a chance. This request, give him more leeway, okay, the Torah itself cannot provide for it, because Torah has its laws. But Torah pleads for it, which means Torah recognizes that there is such a thing, where sin can be eliminated, eradicated, erased, as if it wasn't there.
Paltiel?
Yes.
It seems from the nature of this exchange that it's even more. It's like Torah is drawing out this from Abishter, saying like.
Well, that's what he says. That's what he said. Torah is eliciting it, and
Like without Torah, it wouldn't. This question wouldn't have come up.
no, but it's both. The Torah recognizes the frailty of the human being, and it's pleading for him, but it itself cannot provide for that healing. It goes back and says to the Beis, you have to pay for it. But if Torah were not aware that such a thing is possible, then Torah couldn't plead for it. I'm sorry, I didn't. Okay? So this is what we're saying. Torah is requesting that the inyan from Erech HaPayim should be nimshach. But the forgiveness itself comes from that which from the Erech HaPayim itself. And then we say even a furthering. That it belongs from the Yerushalmi. Yerushalmi says, Hamoyer shebo machzir lemut. That the moyer element that's in Torah brings a person back to good, which means it brings him to tshuva. The moyer shebo, this is how the source, the etzem, is actually contained in Torah. We have discussed many times in the past, a long time ago, there are two elements in every mitzvah. Recently, actually, we said that the most important aspect in a mitzvah is that because Hashem said you should do it. Lo signoiv. What is it? Because Hashem said lo signoiv. We discussed it very recently. In other words, gneva is a very ugly thing. The world could not survive. The human being is blemished if he engages in this as a human being and so forth, all kinds of different things. But then the most important aspect in this is that Hashem is standing over you and says, don't do it. This is Hamoyer Shabo. This is not part of the mitzvah. This is the source of the mitzvah. And that's what the Yerushalmi says. Torah speaks about the mitzvahs. But how does Torah speak about the mitzvahs? It tells you what Hashem says. So therefore there is a inyan from the moyer underneath it all. So Torah brings the inyan hamoyer along with the mitzvah. And hamoyer shebo machzir lemut. This is what brings a person back to the proper path. A person strays off. He can get used to it. A human being can acquiesce to anything. But the moyer element, that pricks him, continues to irk him. And they said Mazir Lemutos. And they said that they said the Luchis Shniyos that provided for Birurim. Okay, so we are, as I said, from the line that begins Koyach Levare Birurim.
You're going to explain now how this tshuva and Machzir Lamutov is connected with your Levar Birurim?
This is going to be explained now. So the Luchis Shniyos, they provided them Kiflayim Utashiyah. What is Kiflayim? Kiflayim means that they provide for Vare Birurim. Levare Birurim, as we explained yesterday, we started like this, that Levare Birurim means to sort out things from within the world itself. Now we're going to say inside. V'yodua, it's known, the oir choizer de birurim, that the oir choizer of birurim, I'll come back in a moment, magia bebchinas atzmus ein sof. It reaches in the atzmus ein sof itself. Now, Oir Choizer, this is just mentioned here so briefly, but we already learned about Oir Choizer and Ether and all that. That Oir Choizer means a reverberating Oir, light that reverberates back from bottom up. Since this is just mentioned here briefly, so we'll just give a very brief reference. Oir Choizer means that even if one descends into the lowest ebb, into the Gashmius, into the Chumrius of existence, ultimately, this will propel him to push back from the Gashmis itself into Elokus. The muscle of Oir Choizer is like when you throw a ball and the ball hits a hard wall and it reverberates back. Where does it reverberate back? Back to the source, the direction from which it came. And this is a muscle which probably needs elaboration if you want to actually correlate it, but just to understand the phenomenon itself. The wall stops the ball. It stops the ball. The ball was going in one direction. Why does it reverberate back? What's the significance of this? The significance of this is that, so to speak, that's because you stopped me, does not mean that the reality that I'm representing has dissipated. And this is the union from Birurim. That when you reach, so to speak, real bottom, just to describe it in very simple terms. A person can go further and further, can go lower and lower. But he's a human being. How does he go lower and lower? He still has intelligence, still about seichel. How does he go further and further? He's going further and further by telling himself that this human element that you're looking for, either it's insignificant or you'll find it in this lower element. This will really provide for it. Like the person is seeking, so to speak, a solid base. He says, you go further down, you'll have a solid base. That will be the truth upon which you base your life. But then, when he gets to that bottom, he finds the bottom, but he finds no life in it. That brings out this oir choizer. Because the whole time he was looking, he was going down, but there was the essential element there. Now, the life element that he was looking for, he lost. But the essence from where that desire came from is still there. Just like in the case of the ball was flying in one direction. But the force that threw the ball is not limited to a direction. It is a force of the hand, and therefore that can be reverted back to a different direction. So it's a mashal. I said one time we really discussed it in great detail. But this is the Avedas HaBirurim. And this Avedas HaBirurim, what really, the Oir Choizer. Oir Choizer means that you go down to total Metzius. And from the lifelessness, you come back seeking the very essence of life. This is the Oir Choizer. This is the Oir Choizer, the Birurim. Magia bebchinas asmos ein-sof. I'm going to take the couple of minutes that are left to point out a very significant element in Chassidus that we are constantly coming across and not necessarily relating and understanding what this is, what it's alluding to. Recently we also spoke about kiyuma v'chiyusa, kiyum v'chayus. When we look at the Gashmiistic world, Gashmius, we see inanimate presence. Inanimate presence means that it is lifeless. Let's say a rock. A tree has chayes in it. Because there are chayes in it, therefore a tree has so to speak, a span of life. And if a piece of wood is cut off from the tree, it can last a certain amount of time, but eventually it will fall apart. Eventually it will rot. A rock that is essentially lifeless, therefore it is not dependent on any rejuvenation element. It just stays what it is. It can stay what it is indefinitely. Therefore, there it would appear that it's not life dependent. There is not a life element, meaning there is not a functional and active presence in this art, in this rock. It is actually a reactive. It's a negative. Nothing bothers him, and therefore he is here. Not like we say that he has all the resources. Nothing bothers him. Nothing affects him. Not cold, not hot, not any circumstance, anything. And then, when one reaches, so to speak, that bottom, one realizes a phenomenal thing. What is it that provides the rock this type of a presence, where he's totally unaffected by any external effects? You're hitting it, the water hits it, the rain hits it, and it's unaffected. This phenomenon of it not being affected is actually representative of the chayus that is imbued in this rock. In other words, it is not incorrect to say that the rock is constantly being rejuvenated. The only difference between a rock and a living entity is that a living entity, an animal, a tree, or whatever, is rejuvenated from the new state. In other words, if it is a year old, it is a year old. If it's 2 years old, its age is reflected in its rejuvenation. It continues to give it chayas at its new state. The rock's rejuvenation is not time dependent. It's rejuvenated exactly as it was in the first moment of creation. This is the inanimate element in the rock. How do you get to realize this? You get to realize this by realizing there is nothing in the rock. There is no reason for the rock to be. But the rejuvenation element that you recognize in the rock is even more profound than anything else. Everything else, its age is shown. On the rock, its age is not shown. Where is there no passage of time at all? At all? Only in Atzmos. Atzmos. This is the Oir Choizer element. There's an element, so to speak. Oh. All right. This is it for this morning. Called. Time is calling.